Yeah, and I don't really have you know, I don't know if Nathaniel brought prepared stuff, but I don't have a structure. So
It's
however you
all
guys want to
good.
do it.
We're just gonna let this flow as necessary. I mean, isn't that how most of these work anyway?
Yeah. Nathaniel, did you prepare something? You usually do. That's why I asked.
I mean, not specifically because I just knew we were going to talk about the Super Bowl, and I'm caught up there. So
Okay.
Well, that's all you need, right?
I got a little I got a little segment that we're gonna do later, so. This is the Experience Podcast with me and someone else.
and
Hello,
Nathaniel,
I'm Anuj. What's up?
Yeah. So two recurring guests who we brought on together. Um, yeah, so Anuj, you really wanted to be on this one, obviously.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, it's Super Bowl
so
week.
yeah, what do you want to talk about then? What was so urgent to get off your chest?
I mean, I just wanted to do a Super Bowl episode. Now that the championships are over, that's all right. So I'm not gonna lie. I was actually expecting the AFC playoff field to be a lot more lit because of all the young talent. Because like obviously Derrick Henry bulldozing people, like, and then Lamar Jackson doing his thing with both the arm and the leg. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. Josh Allen's come out of nowhere.
well, I don't know
And the
about out
feel
of
good story of
nowhere.
Baker Mayfield and the Browns. I'm kind of disappointed with the way the AFC Championship turned into a blowout, but well, Patrick
Yeah,
Mahomes is at
I was
his second
too.
Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, Nathaniel, so you're our hometown Bills fans. Do we want to talk about the AFC Championship before which
Yeah.
can lead into the Super Bowl?
So I'll say this as a Bills fan, it was actually kind of nice the way the game played out, knowing that we would lose. So like, if the Bills lost, I'm glad it went out the way it did because by the time the fourth quarter started, I kind of accepted that we weren't making it to the Super Bowl, and so I had the rest of the game to kind of come to terms with that. I think if it was like a true nail biter and it was just like a coin flip at the end of the game and we lost, then the pain would have lingered for a little longer. But yeah, I don't feel bad. I got to remember that Mahomes in his first breakout year made it to the AFC Championship game and then lost. So it's a process. I trust the process, and then also the little the football flip to Okafor's helmet and that whole sequence that was fucking awesome. I loved watching that, especially because we had already lost. Something that okay, the one thing about that whole sequence that I do want to point out is no one seems to be talking about how Okafor already had a roughing the passer penalty for a late hit earlier in the game. It was the same dude. And then how come the ref didn't throw the flag for a late hit on that play because they blew the whistle and then like a full second later Okafor comes in and puts Josh Allen to the ground. Like, I'm not saying that it's acceptable to like flip the ball to his helmet, even though it was funny because that's not sportsmanlike and you shouldn't do that. But anyone who's like, "Oh, I can't believe that they would do that. How could they do that?" It's like, yeah, if you watch the context of the game and understand that they're frustrated because they, had a good season and it's going to come to an end. I mean, well, it all seems pretty reasonable to me.
So here's something interesting. If the Browns had pulled off the upset against
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Chiefs, had Kevin Stefanski, called a better final drive, or if the defense had gotten the stop against Chad Henne, what do you think?
Well, I mean, Bills Browns would have been awesome. The world would have been on fire. It's just like, Rust Belt teams that have been in just pain for the past 20 years would be playing in the AFC Championship game. So that would have been awesome. But, I mean, I think you can tell from the AFC Championship game, like, the Chiefs' offense is just something else. I don't know what is going to change for teams to be able to stop that. But, I mean, yeah, they just can look unstoppable.
Well, honestly, I don't know how Tampa Bay's secondary is going to match up, given the fact that Carlton Davis already got cooked in one meeting. What was it, like 250 yards in one quarter against Tyreek Hill, the first game?
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think the answer is actually to look at the front seven. I think
Oh, yeah.
if the line plays better and puts more pressure on Mahomes, then it won't give enough time for the longer routes to develop for, Tyreek or Hardman or Pringle to just get wide open down the field. And something that no team that the Chiefs have played in the playoffs has been able to exploit yet is Mahomes has this tendency to continue to backpedal when
Oh,
there's
yeah.
pressure around the pocket instead of stepping up into the pocket, which is a big thing you see. So if you can get even outside pressure quickly, it can just move the line of scrimmage back to an unreasonable point, and that puts a lot of pressure on the wide receivers. It makes the job easier for the secondary. So to your point, that's the only out I see for the Tampa Bay defense. I don't think, as you said, the corners can just try to play lockdown football and then stop the passing game from going wild by themselves. Gonna take some clever blitz schemes and stuff like that.
The Chiefs are down Eric Fisher. The Chiefs are down Eric Fisher.
Oh, that's true.
So I'm sure Shaq Barrett or Jason Pierre-Paul, whoever's lining up on that side, is gonna it's gonna be interesting how they scheme around that. Have you seen Brett Coleman's video? So actually, he does discuss what you're talking about with Patrick Mahomes just backpedaling,
Hmm.
and he actually brings up the last Super Bowl, the big play to Tyreek Hill that Patrick Mahomes hit to keep that drive alive, and then I think it eventually led to a touchdown. But like,
Yeah.
he was back like what 11 or 12 yards, and they called
Yeah.
a stunt. The 49ers called a stunt, and it wasn't just like a straight up pressure. And he
Oh,
had all the
yeah.
time in the world. But then Miami, in their game against the Chiefs this year, they call the straight pressure, and they drop him for like what, a 30-yard loss.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure, but I'm sure Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy are probably scheming something around that. But it'll be interesting to see whether they go with the more of a quick game or more of a reliance on the running game with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Le'Veon Bell.
I mean, I think it's going to be hard to run against the Bucks, especially with Vita back, because he played so well against the Packers. So
Oh yeah, Vita Vea is back. Big, no, 350 pounds of him clogging up the A gap. That's going to be interesting.
yeah,
And if Shaq Barrett and JPP can also set the edge, then I guess then they have no recourse. And then I guess to the other side, how do you think this defense is going to hold up against Brady?
yeah, that's a really good question. I think that's more of a wild card than on the other side of the ball, because the Chiefs don't have to have a run game. It's nice when they do, but they just don't even need it. But so okay, the deep ball concerns for Brady have clearly been overblown. He had a bad streak in the first half of the season, but he's been lights out recently. That being said, when you look at the Packers game, those two interceptions that Brady threw in the second half, the Packers didn't even get a first down from either of those turnovers. And I mean, that I think is kind of what allowed the Bucks to win. Obviously, they put themselves in a good position being up so much at halftime with that score right before the end of the half. But I mean, if Brady does anything like that against the Chiefs, he's just going to get punished. And yeah, I mean, I think this game's a coin flip in a lot of ways, but I think the turnover differential is going to be particularly impactful for this game. And I think where most of that comes from, if it comes from anywhere, is going to be from Brady throwing a pick. So, yeah, I don't know. If playoff Lenny can keep it up and they have a good run game to kind of balance things out, then it'll be interesting. But the Chiefs secondary is just going to have to overperform.
I mean, they do have some really good threats over there. I think if you look at the receiver cores, at least for me, I see a dichotomy. It's like you've got the speed merchants on the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver core, like Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, Mecole Hardman. They all run low 4.3, 4.4 40s, and then you've got Travis Kelce with the most reliable hands. And then on the other side, I think their hallmark is more reliability and possession. Like Mike Evans, one of the best, most reliable receivers, especially with the jump ball. Chris Godwin's been reliable. Scotty Miller's emerged. And you have Antonio Brown.
Yeah, well, is AB going to play?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know
It's
either.
anyone's guess. Is it crazy to think that the two most toxic players on the Steelers now have a chance from the Steelers' worst season now have a chance for a Super Bowl?
Well, I guess that's why they wanted to leave, so maybe they were right.
It's just unfathomable, especially with the kind of stunts that Antonio Brown pulled. If Tampa Bay wins, like Pittsburgh and Oakland are going to be bitter for days on end.
Maybe. But, I mean, if they win and he doesn't even play, though, then they won't care. So that's an easy out. Also, with the speed versus reliability thing, did you see that Scotty Miller claimed he was faster than Tyreek Hill?
I heard about that. What do you think?
Scotty Miller can scoop
No.
them. Okay, he's super fast.
Okay. What
I don't know.
always
40
blew my mind. Do you remember that play? I think it must have been last season. There was like some touchdown pass. I think it was to like Pringle or maybe Hardman. But and they just broke away, and both those guys are super fast. So whoever it was, they just got away from the defender. But then out of nowhere, Tyreek Hill just like catches up to them to like support him and like. Do you remember that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
Anyway.
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm.
One thing is to run a 40, but in terms of like game speed, oh my god.
I think you're talking about Damian Williams running the ball.
Oh, is that what it? Yes, you're right. That is what it was.
It was
Still.
Damian Williams, yeah.
Oh man, that was just wild because he just caught up to him like nothing. That's like it's like in basketball when like someone gets a steal at half court and some defender is at their own free throw line, and then they manage to like run the guy down and get a block on the breakaway
Like
or something.
LeBron James did in the finals that year.
Yeah, exactly. Just seeing something like that is like, oh my god, like this guy's so fast and athletic.
Or like DK Metcalf chasing down Buda Baker from the back of the goal line.
Yeah.
Now that was something.
So I don't know. I think the classic example of like game speed though is Jerry Rice, right? He didn't have like an unbelievable 40 time or anything, but when it comes to actually being in the game, he's just so fast. It's crazy.
I believe it. I'm trying to see if I can find his 40-yard time. It looks like there's apparently someone saying that he ran a 4.71 in 1985, which apparently is like they're saying it's bullshit.
Well, he always said like he never cared to just run like just to run, but he has a story about how he would like run along with his like horses at his farm or something. I don't know. The guy's wild, but yeah.
I mean, it does make sense. Even your best performance at the NFL Combine isn't going to guarantee success. But even like a terrible performance at the Combine, you could still be really successful. I mean, it's one example that I've heard is you look at Mitchell Schwartz. I think he's the right tackle for the Chiefs.
Right.
Apparently, he didn't have the greatest combine performance, and he's one of the best offensive tackles in the game.
Yeah.
Like he's really good. Whoever whichever one of those two is on that side is probably not gonna get to Patrick Mahomes very easily. They're gonna have some work to do.
Yeah, but I think Tyreek Hill's faster until that's proven otherwise. That's my operating assumption. And I don't know. Back to in terms of the game, this is such a cold take, but I really just think it's kind of a coin flip. I think the line is 3. The Chiefs are favored by 3. That sounds about right.
Mhm.
But I mean, on any given day, I mean, who knows what's gonna happen?
Do you remember what it was for last year's Super Bowl? Because you had obviously the Chiefs' offense was balls off the wall insane, but also the 49ers' defense was lights out the entire playoffs.
Yeah, I don't know what it was last year.
So do you think we might be seeing something like that again in terms of the matchup?
Oh, actually, that's a really good point. Isn't it a pretty similar like comp? Just like
Last year's line was 3.
okay,
Oh, wait. No,
I'm seeing 1.5, but
it was 1.5. Sorry, 1.5. Yep.
So that was even closer.
yeah. But you just made a really good point. You know, if you look at the Niners last year, it was like not carried, but defense was just at an unreal level. I mean, Garoppolo was supposed to be Brady replacement in New England, and so it's kind of that same style. Obviously, Shanahan is really solid offensive mind, maybe not as much as. Well, actually, no. Everything's just a great comp. I think it's just going to be maybe exactly like last year. So if the Chiefs are down 10 in the fourth, then we already know how it happens.
Yeah, because like that team was built on a really good defense and a really good running game. Like Raheem Mostert and Tevin Coleman and Matt Breida were
Yeah.
really good, and like Jimmy G did not have to force it, but when he threw it, like he was getting some big yards.
Oh, that could be a key difference, though, right? Brady obviously has been to a handful of Super Bowls and knows how to play.
Yeah.
Knows how to play in them. So I think because when you look at the Super Bowl last year with the 49ers, Garoppolo didn't play well at all.
I'd say he played decent, but there were some throws. I guess that he should have made, especially on that last drive. I think he overthrew Emmanuel Sanders for what should have been a touchdown. And there are probably some reads he missed because, like, I think if I remember properly, Kansas City ran some cover 0 blitzes against them on 3rd and 4th down, and those pressures got home, which they probably shouldn't have if Jimmy G had gotten rid of the ball. Part of that you can blame on Garoppolo. Part of that maybe you can blame on Kyle Shanahan because everybody likes to blame Kyle Shanahan for choking that Super Bowl away. Falcons fans like myself.
Garoppolo was 20 for 31, 219 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. So
2 picks.
I mean that doesn't win the game by any means, and it didn't. So.
And somehow Brady threw 3 picks and won the game. And as you said, like that's not gonna fly against this offense.
Yeah, I mean that again. If you told me that Brady was going to throw 3 picks against the Packers, I would say that's not going to fly against the Packers offense. So, I don't know.
But then the defense showed up. Then the Bucs defense showed up. So
yeah, that's true.
While we're on the topic of the NFC Championship game, can we just take a moment to say Matt LaFleur is a coward? He should have gone for it on that 4th down instead of kicking the field goal.
Oh, really good point.
So that brings me to my thing. So I have this thing. So I was listening to the show. This is going to sound off topic, but it's on topic. I was listening to the show. They're like movie guys. They're not like sports guys, but they have like the little sports show. And these guys don't really know they don't really know what's going on. So basically, they said a few things that I was befuddled by. Okay, I'm going to go through them, and they're about the NFC Championship. One of them is not. One of the things they said was, the Bills are all good. They just need a running back.
I
don't know.
I could see that. I mean, as long as Josh Allen continues to develop, or at least he stays on his trajectory as a passer, like he was really good this year. But yeah, you're right. Like they're missing the running game. I wouldn't say that's all they need, but It's a big part of what they need.
So they need to fix the running game. Okay, I think I'll go in a second, but like, not to get too deep into the running backs don't matter thing, but also like they've drafted a running back in the third round the past 2 years.
Yeah, but Zach Moss was out, and
Yes.
I think we felt that a little bit.
Yeah,
'Cause
obviously.
he's
But,
a
like,
little bit more of the bruiser type, and it's nice to have that sometimes, and that just wasn't in our package.
I guess what I don't want them to do is draft a running back in the first round.
No, we're not going to do
They're
that.
not going to do that.
I don't
They
know if we
could.
draft a running back at all because of like cap concerns, especially if we
I think
sign
they're doing fine
Josh
on the
Allen.
cap. Oh,
Huh?
well, I think they're fine on the cap.
Yeah, but
They have enough space.
it just doesn't make sense. I mean, the Bills are going to get to go just like best player available. And what I'm excited for there is McDermott is really, really good at assessing defensive talent. And our wide receiver core is, just a really solid group.
Fine. Yeah.
So maybe we get no lineman.
Gabriel
if we-
Davis was hurt in the last game.
Cole Beasley broke his damn fibula and played through the game, which is
How did he
And John
do
Brown
that?
was pretty much hurt the whole year.
yeah.
yeah.
But I
But
mean,
he got Stephon Diggs. Got a lot out of Stephon Diggs.
I don't think the offense, they're the top 5 offense this year. They don't need to, they're fine.
well, let's see. That Butker guy is it's spelled like Boettger or something.
Is he a tight end?
No, he's our left guard. I mean
Ike
that.
Butker.
Yeah, that I think he's like a pretty big weak link in the offensive line.
Feliciano was up and down. They could probably
Yeah.
they probably need to get some offensive linemen. I mean, Darrell Williams is kind of just a guy.
Interior line specifically, maybe.
I think they should go for tackles. I mean, Deion Dawkins and Darrell Williams are kind of just fine.
Dawkins is assigned to a big contract, and he's not a big name or anything, but we're not moving away from him for sure because he's on that contract and he's played really well at left tackle overall. Like nothing to complain about. I could see. I definitely think our left guard could use an upgrade. Feliciano. I think Feliciano is actually normally a left guard, but because of the line issues, he ended up having to shift to right. I'm not sure, but also we had some linemen out. They either got season-ending injury before the season or were on the COVID list. I can't remember which one, but it would have been nice to. I also forget the dude's name. Not being a good Bills fan right now. Yes, thank you.
also kind of
A
just
second round
fine.
pick, I think.
Yeah,
in
but-
the-
But he was just a rookie last year, so I mean, give him some time to develop. Like Deion Dawkins wasn't amazing his first year, but he really stepped up into his role and did a good job. So anyway, I don't want to make this all about the Bills.
I'll just bring it back to my next thing. So
Yeah.
another thing they said was, okay, we're going back to the Bucks Packers game. The other two are about the Bucks Packers.
Yeah.
They said it was Aaron Rodgers' fault that Matt LaFleur didn't go for 4th and goal.
What?
So part of and that's, I guess, the other one I'll also loop in was Tom Brady was the reason the defense played well against the Packers because he was hyping up the team or whatever, which I guess
Okay,
is also
maybe.
leads it. So the point of that is like quarterbacks tend to get overrated for how much they contribute, right? They receive all the praise and all the blame.
Right.
I don't think it was Tom Brady's reason. I don't think Tom Brady was the reason that Shaq Barrett, whatever, you get my point.
Yeah.
And then Aaron Rodgers, they were saying Aaron Rodgers needs to step up and tell Matt LaFleur they're going for it. Why can't it just be Matt LaFleur's fault? He didn't go for it. The Packers were the most aggressive team in terms of going for it on 4th down throughout the year. So it wasn't
a
even
little thing called
a problem.
situational awareness. And credit to Todd Bowles, he called a really good defensive game on that drive to keep them from capitalizing on those picks. So,
I'll say this. I mean, in a backwards way, I think they're kind of right in that. So again, no first downs off the 2 picks. On that last drive, it got to 4th down in the first place. Here's the thing you got to remember about the Packers offense. They go into the huddle with 2 or 3 plays prepped, and then Aaron Rodgers decides which ones to call.
A lot of teams do that. The Bucks do that in a way too sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
I
the
think
reason
even-
why
Even
LaFleur.
the Bills do that. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't. But the Packers do it every time,
Yes.
more
Yes.
than other teams. And Rodgers needs it to be that way because that's what he wants. And LaFleur is making it work. All that's good. That's why McCarthy had to leave. But anyway, all that being said, I mean, if you're going to run an offense like that and then you're going to point fingers at the end of the day, I mean, you do have to kind of put it on Rodgers for just not being able to run the offense effectively not even the second half, but the second half of the fourth quarter. They had every chance to win or at least get back in the game.
No, that's not what they were saying. They were saying Aaron Rodgers needs to step in and tell LaFleur he wants to go for it. And that it was his fault that they didn't go for it. Like, not LaFleur's the coach. He makes those decisions. I get sometimes, you'll see like Lamar Jackson, I think it was this year or last year, was like, hey, let's go for it. And John Harbaugh was like, sure. But like,
well, it was 20. It was the year they actually made it. I think it was last year. He was
last year?
when they were
Okay.
number 1 seed.
Yeah. I mean, I get that happens, but like, it's the head coach. That's the head coach's job.
Okay, wait. But I did want to talk about this too. So, and you brought it up. So when the Packers put out their field goal unit, I was watching the game with my dad. My dad was like, "What the hell are they doing?" And I thought about it for a bit, and I actually came around. And as it was happening, I was saying, I actually really like this. You kick the field goal, you get the free points, you onside kick. If you recover, then you're going to end up being in a similar situation as before, except now if you score, which you have to score a touchdown, but you win the game instead, and there's no pressure for getting the 2-point conversion. Or if you don't get the onside kick, then you have to make a stop for a 3-and-out, which you were going to have to do if you didn't get the 4th down conversion anyway. The field position doesn't really matter because of the clock. So you just need to get a stop no matter where you are in the field. It makes it a little more difficult for your offense to get down and score that touchdown after the field goal, but that's just part of the payoff. And so as it was happening, I actually came around to the decision. I thought it was really solid. And then they did an onside kick. And then I was like, this is so dumb. They just threw the game, and then they did.
I would have figured that they were at least gonna go for it and then go for the 2-point conversion and then consider the onside kick or just pray that their defense makes a stop on that drive. Obviously, there was on that third down. It was like, I think it was the third and goal. It's like, why aren't you running it in? Why did you throw it across your body? Why?
Oh,
why, Rodgers? Why?
Because again, and that's where what I was trying to say before. Like, in a weird way, it's Rodgers' fault, not in the same way that these guys were describing. But I mean, Rodgers goes into the huddle and he picks the play. So why didn't you run the ball? That's not a question for LaFleur. That's a question for Rodgers.
Well, there you go.
So, and then on a similar vein, and this is going to be less like publicized or whatever, but also very upset with McDermott's decision about what to do in similar situations. So right at the end of the half, the Bills kicked that field goal. I feel so bad for my dad because, again, I was watching the games with him, and in halftime, I must have said at least a dozen times, which must have been super annoying, why would you want to be down 9 points going into half? Why would you want to be down 9? Who cares if you're down 9 versus 12
against the Chiefs? It's still a 2-score deficit.
So,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
McDermott came out and he said the reason, I think it was McDermott, the reason they kicked the field goal was for morale reasons. You know what helps morale? You know what helps morale even more? Scoring a touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? It's pulling the goalie, right? Sorry, just to clarify what I mean by that in like a social science
not
context.
A sex thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Or unless you're talking about the hockey term, which
yes, it is based on the hockey term, but here's the point, right? If you kick that field goal, I know there's still a half left, but you're playing the Chiefs. You're really not putting your team in a position to win anyway. So what's the point?
Not to mention the Bills. What did they lost the toss? Well, they had the ball first in the first half.
Exactly. So at the time I didn't like that, but then they ended up kicking that next field goal too, their first possession in the second half, it was a similar type of deal where they got down the field and ended up kicking a short field goal. And I'm just thinking, if you obviously you don't know that that's going to happen at the end of the first half, but if you go for it in both those instances and it works once and it doesn't work the other time, and you get one touchdown and one not touchdown, that's still 7 points, which is better than 2 field goals. And also, instead of that 9-point differential we're talking about, you get the extra point from it, so it's 8, and it's a one-score game. And I mean, if you rerun the tape, and I know hindsight's 20/20, but the only way the Bills stay in that game is if they go for it in both those
5?
instances. No, because instead of 6, it would be 7. But because the Chiefs scored a field goal on their first possession.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If hindsight's 20/20, but if you look back at the game, the only way the Bills stay in the game is if they go for it on fourth down in both those instances and score a touchdown both times. That's the only way they have a chance at winning. So, I mean, obviously you lose if you don't make it either of the times, but if you kick field goals one or both times, which they did, then you're not in the game anyway.
I think what's most interesting is, and we're talking about the Bills and the Packers' questionable fourth down decisions. These are two of the teams that were the most aggressive going forward on fourth down. And so why are all of a sudden McDermott and LaFleur more conservative in high leverage situations?
Playoff experience. I mean, look at what's going on across the, Rodgers had a great career, but at the end of the day, he's got one Super Bowl, and is that the only one he's been to? I don't think he's been to another Super Bowl.
He's never been to another Super Bowl. But I think that's a little, I don't know. I don't know if that explains it.
Oh, okay. But also off that, NFC Championship games, how many has Rodgers been to? I know he got trashed by the Falcons that one year. Yeah, that game was awful. And then obviously, the Bills, brand new to all this. McDermott obviously is going to have some experience because he was DC for Carolina when they played the Broncos.
Oh God.
I mean, yeah,
but you compare that though to the Chiefs, who are the new perennial Super Bowl, and then Brady.
Potentially, yeah.
I mean, yeah, they just are more comfortable playing football in these types of situations, and I don't know. I guess just how human brain works.
Experience doesn't explain making worse decisions. I don't know.
Of course it does.
It's objectively the wrong decision, right? We know that you could pick any fourth down model. It's better. It would have been better to go for it.
This is among the many things that Chase and I talk about when we're watching games and chatting it up on GroupMe. Is that's the one thing he always brings up. Is why don't you go for it on fourth down? It's analytically better, especially if you're outside of field goal range, or if you're on your side of the 50, punt it, yeah. But if you're on the opponent side of the 50, and it's a fourth and short, then go for it. If it's a fourth and goal at the 1, go for it. And that's one of the things that pisses him off. But as far as the Super Bowl is concerned, so Bruce Arians, I think, if I remember properly, has been one of the more aggressive coaches in football.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we're going to see
middle of the
that?
pack this year? He's been in going for a fourth down. He's been middle of the pack.
Do you think we're going to see some of that more patent, that more aggressive style from Bruce Arians in the Super Bowl this year?
I hope so, because again, if you just look at the Chiefs playoff games from this year, but also last year, I mean, the answer is pretty clear. You have to be aggressive. The Chiefs offense is just, unstoppable. They can just put up points at will if they turn that switch on. And so the only way to combat that is in those questionable situations, you have to say either we go for it and we get it and we keep ourselves in this game and have a chance to win, or we don't go for it and we don't have a chance anyway, because the Chiefs are just going to turn around and outscore us if we don't try. So I hope we don't see a kind of a repeat of, the Bills and the Browns game plan against the Chiefs, and the Bucs end up being more aggressive.
So here's where the game lies. Okay, we're gonna get into the stats here. So buckle up. The the Buccaneers, and you can even just if you want to go, if you have time, go back and watch the NFC Championship game. They run on first down like all the time, right? They
Maybe
run
don't
on
do
first
that.
and second down pretty much play a drinking game. You'll get wasted by midway through the first quarter.
All
I mean,
right,
it's
bet.
insane
I'm
how
doing it.
huh?
Uh,
Anyway, yeah,
well-
like actually, go back and watch. You could skip through every time they run on first down or even second down, and they put themselves. They've been doing this all year. For some reason, I don't know if it's Leftwich or Arians or whoever, maybe even Brady. They tend to run on early downs a lot. Well, actually, one of the reasons that I forget who, someone like a beat reporter was talking to either Arians or Leftwich, and they said they did it to keep the Packers off the field because, running, that's 36-ish seconds off the clock automatically, right?
Right.
So it keeps
I
them
mean,
off the field.
sure.
Well, the better way to keep them off the field is to get a first down. So you're choosing the less efficient way to get a first down. Anyway,
But if you run into first downs, then
but they're not. That was the problem. They were
But if you're
getting
gonna
one or
run
two
on
yards.
every single first down, like that's just like, unless you're, I mean,
So yeah, like obviously the Ravens can get away with that because they're good. The Buccaneers were awful. They were getting like 2 yards per carry on first and second down.
it's
So
like
they
that's
were
why you gotta
putting-
go. That's why you gotta pass on first down. That's why the Seahawks pass on first down. That's
Well,
why.
they don't. Oh, they don't actually. Now Pete Carroll wants to run the ball constantly. Anyway, but focusing on this, like, yeah, they had negative EPA per play on early down rushes, right? They were not doing well, and the problem is, and they've been doing this all season, but the problem is you're setting up these third and longs, and you're basically betting on Brady to bail you out. That was part of the reason why you had those picks. I think they were all on third down too.
Third
Maybe
and
not.
longs.
Don't quote. What did I say?
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think you're right.
They might have been on third, because they're basically betting on Brady and Brady obviously, he can do that to a certain extent. The problem is, guess who has one of the top third and long defenses in the NFL?
The Chiefs.
There you go, Anuj. Bonus points for you. Yeah, the Chiefs are actually, I think they may even be the best third and long defense in the NFL.
I mean,
So,
it
like-
makes sense. Chris Jones and Frank Clark and Chris Jones is really good as a pass rusher. Frank Clark's pretty good, and
also,
obviously
like,
that defense that secondary's gotten a lot better.
Need. And yeah, basically, so the problem is if you start to see the Buccaneers running on first and second down and not doing well, because look, they're handing it off to Leonard Fournette, and all due respect to Leonard,
Whoa, playoff Lenny. Don't slander the man.
he's not exactly been great. And Ronald
He hasn't
Jones,
been consistent. He hasn't been consistent. Like Ronald Jones has also been really good.
he's been better, but they're still
Actually, yeah, that's a good point. You can say he hasn't been good, but let me tell you what, he has been fucking great.
sure okay.
I'm
I
about
mean-
to put in a prop bet for Leonard Fournette over 100 rush yards right now.
I think he was like
Oh,
fifth
okay.
in MVP odds. That's insane.
It's like good luck running against Derek Nottie and Mike Pennell up the middle. Although you might have to do it, because Travaris Ward and Jerry Sneed have been really good. I've actually been surprised at Juan Thornhill, the cornerback out of Virginia. He's been good.
Juan Thornhill's
Really
been pretty. I don't know. I guess that's where I'm saying that's where the game's gonna lie.
Wait, who's the former Cowboys cornerback that's on the Chiefs now?
Ooh, I don't actually
Oh,
know.
wait, Breland?
Rashad Breeland?
I don't think he was on.
I don't
Oh,
think
he wasn't? All right,
He was
never
on the
mind.
Washington football.
That
team.
dude
He was
looks
on the
weak
football
as
team.
that dude does not look good sometimes.
He looks really bad, and
gonna
then
say
he
that.
makes really great in another play. He's very inconsistent.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
he's like
all over the place.
Sean Fenton has been okay. Matthew obviously has helped that team a lot. Even Trevor-
Dirty Dan Sorensen. He's been
yeah.
nice.
Dan
He's
Sorensen
been
is
physical.
bad. Dan Sorensen has not been good, but yeah, that's where the game's going to matter is those third and longs, is how many do they get into.
This is an interesting point that we're kind of beating around the bush on, but now I'm like, it's all coming together. So
Get into push.
I heard a thing that was basically something along the lines of the way that the NFL is kind of structured today, with it being like a pass-heavy league and offense really does have an advantage. The traditional stats that we look at for what makes a defense good is not what we should be looking at anymore. But instead, are you able to create a turnover in the fourth quarter when it matters? Or, just kind of create those kind of big plays, random blow-up sacks that go for 15 yards, or, key interceptions, that kind of stuff. And so I think when you are listing off all this stuff about Chiefs playmakers, yeah, maybe Sorensen isn't the best safety ever, but he's kind of makes electric plays sometimes. And that's exactly what we were saying about Breland too, right? Very inconsistent, but sometimes he looks really, really good. So I think the Chiefs have very quietly created a solid defensive roster that excels in the current NFL landscape.
I think it's also Steve Spagnuolo. It doesn't, like, for some reason.
So what are these stats? What are these stats that you think people are putting too much emphasis on?
Points allowed per game. Yards allowed per game.
Oh, I don't think those aren't really great stats anyway, but I don't know.
Okay,
I think part of it.
What makes Sorensen not a good corner or safety?
He gets beat bad, like, consistently, and
but you're not hearing me though, right? Like,
I could pull
that
up, like,
doesn't matter. Does he make
So
big
how do you
plays
count
also?
what these what catches he's allowing? Like, how do you? So there's a thing. So I think Tyrann Mathieu has this problem. So he's a really good safety, but Pro Football Focus has kind of charged him with more, I guess, negative plays than they should. And Brett Coleman made a video on this where he analyzed each and every one of these plays, and like some of them are legit him getting beat, but others are just a function of Steve Spagnuolo's system and the way the plays are called and the way those defensive responsibilities are played, and you just get penalized with that play by a body like PFF because you're the closest person to the receiver. So it's like, oh, he lost that rep, when it's not necessarily he lost that rep, but rather they beat that coverage.
I mean, yeah.
I agree with that.
Spagnuolo, for some reason, like, only shows up in big games. I think it's just because, like, the way his defense runs, he's much more of a game planner than, like, his specific system. Right? He's done that throughout his entire career. Right? He beat the 2007 Patriots in the Super Bowl. I mean, yeah, I would trust him to figure it out.
Just to go back to something real quick, you mentioned the drinking game. I'm actually really excited about doing that. That sounds like a fun one. So it's going to be, I'll do whenever the Bucks run on first down.
Good luck.
But the reason why I'm excited for that is, well, I'm losing weight right now, so I'm not drinking. But also every year I don't drink between New Year's and the Super Bowl. So, and then, when we watch the Super Bowl, we have a great time. Because, I'm a month out of the game, so a little soft. But yeah, that'll be a ton of fun.
I think so. They ran on first or second down. First or second down 23 times in the Packers game. So you'll see.
And even to the point, it's like if you're just gonna run it up the middle, then like you're gonna have a bad day. So if you're just gonna be like up the middle stubbornly, like you're gonna have a bad day. Like you're gonna have a really bad day.
Yeah, I mean, again, the bottom line problem is they're just not good at it.
All right. Do you want to put in some score predictions?
Sure about that. I guess I'll start. I think so. First of all, closing thoughts. I think the key for Tampa is they can't, like you said, you're right. They can't consistently run the ball in first and second down and expect to like get into third and manageable. I think they're gonna have to work that intermediate game. Let Brady be Brady essentially. Like work that like short to intermediate game, soften it up. Then every now and then you can run it. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is just gonna do his thing, and I think I'm gonna go with the Chiefs by 7, and I think honestly it's gonna be a bit of a shootout. I'm gonna say 38-31 Chiefs.
Dude, that is fucking scary. Like, I have no way to prove this to you, but that was literally the exact score that I was going to give.
Wow.
I swear, there's no way for me to prove like that I'm not just saying that.
You guys
but
gonna make out now? Yeah.
genuinely.
I think you guys are too high. I think you got the spread right. This will be 31-24.
So you think it's going to be a bit of a lower scoring game? Okay.
That's not a low scoring. I get like it seems like a low scoring game nowadays, but
Well, lower.
You're on the under and we're on the over.
I'm barely on the under.
But you are on the under.
The over under is 56.5. I'm at 55.
Look, but if the under hits, the under hits. If the over hits, the over hits. That's all there is to it. We don't
I
buy
would
points
take
in
the
this
under,
house.
but barely. Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of
I think
I'm
it's
kind
good.
of inclined to take the over here.
I think the over under is actually in a pretty good spot. I don't know.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting for sure. I'm looking forward to this. Everybody's you probably noticed like everybody's already billing it as the LeBron versus Jordan of the modern age. Because for obvious reasons.
Okay, here's another issue I have. Okay, thank you for bringing that up, Anuj. The Brady versus Mahomes thing doesn't make any sense. They don't play each other. They play defenses. Quarterbacks play defenses. Like, it's not like basketball where they're actually going up one-on-one against each other. They're not on this field at the same time.
But okay, was the basketball conversation ever really about like them playing defense on one another? It was more just like who is going to score like more points and help their teams more, right?
Or who was the more the more impactful, or who's the better player in that regard?
Yeah, I know, but people will take the result of this game one way or the other and make it this person is better than that person.
Yeah, but I mean that's just like dumb sports talk. That's always going to happen. So
let's get one thing straight. Patrick Mahomes definitely has the potential to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Tom Brady has his legacy as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. All right, have you ever listened to J. Cole? There's a song called Sideline Story. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but there's like this lyric that I think is kind of goes to that. But you'll never pay me like LeBron versus Jordan. 20 years, wonder who they're going to say was more important. Both changed the game, came through and made a lane. Who's to say that who's greater? All we know, they ain't the same. You really can't. So can you really say like one's better than the other? But when clearly like Patrick Mahomes is on a Hall of Fame trajectory, Tom Brady is probably going to be a consensus first ballot Hall of Fame when he retires.
Yeah, there's a little bit of overlap right now, so it's fun to look at that. But
But like,
ultimately,
the Bucks
you're right.
winning doesn't mean that Brady will always be better than Mahomes, I guess, is my point. There's other players on the field.
No,
Yeah,
that's
11 on 11.
no doubt about it.
Okay. Anything else you guys want to say before we wrap this up? Final thoughts.
Well, not about the Super Bowl, but there's other things we need to talk about.
yeah.
What, the Bills free agency plan?
No, dude. This has been the craziest week in the financial world since the 2008 housing crisis.
Okay, we can talk about that.
I'm glad I rode the wave when I did.
Break down how shorts work.
Well, I don't want to go into all that, but my first question for everybody is, how much money did you make off GameStop?
I stayed in it. I didn't stay in it for a long term. I got out. I got in. I got out, and within a matter of 24 hours. But somehow I turned that into $3,000. I was able to finish off my Roth IRA contribution this year.
Wow, look at that.
Nice.
I did not invest in it because I believe in the big guy.
Boo.
You know, some people, they say they believe in
time.
the little people. I'm into the... I'm kidding. No, I didn't.
So here's my super fun story. So just to go back a little bit, I won't spend too much time on this, but so basically I've always wanted to take the LSAT, but never had a reason to because I don't want to be a lawyer. I just think taking the LSAT would be fun. My good friend does want to go to law school, and so he is gonna take the LSAT, and so I thought, hey, I've always wanted to do that. You're doing that. We can do it together. It'll probably help our scores. It'll be like a fun thing to do during quarantine. Help me catch up with them and stuff. So anyway, I need to buy these LSAT books, but I saw the link and I thought they were $300. So what I did was I had bought some GameStop shares, and I was like, okay, I'm going to use 3 of them to try to buy these LSAT books. And so what I just did was I put it at $100 each over what I bought it for. And I set a stop limit for that. And I was in a meeting and I was like, well, whatever. So when I go into the meeting, GameStop stock price is about 80. Okay, cool. When I get out of the meeting, GameStop stock is at 85. I'm like, okay, whatever. But then I notice that those 3 shares are gone. And so
What?
during the meeting, when I set the stop limit, what happened was that was when the price spiked up on Monday. The highest sell point was 159.16, and I sold it for 158.60. So it's 59 cents off the top price that time. So that was cool. I pocketed the money, and then I also and then I found out the books were only $150. So then I used the difference to get back in, and I made a little more money. But that was really fun. But ignoring like personal stories or whatever, I am really excited for kind of what this means for the future of all this. I think retail investors are going to start to stand up for themselves. I think something that people ignore is that shorts like this and like moving the market to the point where should stand for market manipulation, this was happening all the time. It just never went punished, right? The like Citron and Melvins of the world would just manage to drive the price down and get away with it and make a quick buck, kind of messing up the companies and the shareholders and investors of said companies in the process. But now that, I don't know, now that retail investors have really caught on, I don't think companies are going to be able to just kind of arrogantly short stuff anymore. And that's just really exciting.
Shorting is inherently risky, isn't it? Because when you short the stock, you're not actually, you're not selling your own shares. You are selling shares you do not have.
Correct.
You are selling shares that you do not have, and then you have to buy them back when eventually, and that's just a really risky proposition. So
here's the problem.
Irresponsible at worst.
Here's the problem with that line of thinking. These hedge funds have so much capital that they can make their own risk. They can move the market the way they want to a non-negligible degree, a relevant degree on their own. And that's exactly what they were doing. And it screwed over a lot of people in the process, but they were able to make a quick buck off their shorts. And so, I think that's not going to happen as much anymore because people are going to be on short watch, because now for the next handful of years, retail investor sentiment is going to be, where are the big shorts? What can we squeeze? How can I drive up the price to, force these people to get out of their positions and make money off it? And now people are kind of aware that can go down. Yeah, I just think, I don't think anything like this will happen again. I don't think anything remotely close to this will happen again. But what I do think is that hedge funds are going to have to be more considerate of that when they decide to, go short on stuff, and they can't get too big for their britches Melvin did.
Shorting in itself is risky. It's risky at best and irresponsible at worst. Because again, you're not using your shares. You're using shares you don't have, and technically, aren't hedge funds technically using other people's money?
Correct.
So that also adds to the irresponsibility. So if you're gonna do it and then it backfires, you're only hurting your investors.
Well, kind of. Who knows? These people might go to jail. They won't, but theoretically they could. But yeah, really questionable practices around shorting all the way. There's nothing inherently immoral about shorts because they can be used to appropriately hedge risk, and when you aren't manipulating the market off the back of it to make money.
Have you seen The Big Short?
Well, I haven't, because I don't need an explain like I'm 5 to the housing crisis. I know
I don't think
a lot about it.
5. Plus, it's
they do. They kind of do. But yeah,
I'm an economist, man. Like,
Explain it like you're 15, okay?
all right. Well, I would like it
Yeah.
explained like I'm master's degree. So.
I get that Nathaniel doesn't necessarily need it as much, but I think it's a fun movie to watch. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's nice
But,
to see
like,
how it works, even if
there's-
you know it.
Like, it was a risky short, but it wasn't like but would you say, you wouldn't say it was an irresponsible short, right?
For in the housing crisis?
Yeah, when they
Well,
noticed like what was up, and then they started shorting these.
But the
Whatever,
difference
CDS.
there is all these people noticed a pattern, understood how it was likely to unfold, and then it did
Right.
unfold the way. What didn't happen was they didn't say, "Hey, we're gonna pick a stock that's vulnerable, short it, drive the price down, find a way to drive the price down." So these people, what I'm saying is they didn't themselves crash the market. They just saw that it very well could happen, and then they made money off it. Well, I guess if you're smart enough to realize that, then you get to make all that money. But it starts getting more questionable when you are more directly involved with how the stock is traded.
So I don't know if you've heard, but I think there was a report that like the people that were trying to basically screw over GameStop and by shorting their stock, the amount that they shorted was like 140%
Correct.
of the volume.
Of the float, yeah.
So they were not only selling shares that they didn't have, but it seems like they were shorting shares that don't exist.
Right. But that's the weird thing about like derivatives. Since they just derive their value off the actual thing, in this case stocks, you don't need to technically have the capital behind it. Yeah. Sorry, no, I shouldn't say capital. You don't need to have the item that the value's derived off of. Sell derivatives. That's the point of it. So
The
then-
security, I guess.
Yeah. Security is a better word. But yeah, so that was fun. Just gotta throw it out there. You guys should look into Callaway Golf because they
Callaway Golf.
acquired Topgolf, and I think the growth prospects for them are really good. They're also just undervalued at this point in time. So yeah, I took all my money after GameStop. Well, and to be clear, not all my money was in GameStop, but it was in a handful of other things. But
Sounds like
after
all of your
GameStop stuff,
savings were in
I
GameStop.
just I'm not gonna lie to you. I cashed out everything I owned in my portfolio, and I put it into Callaway.
So Callaway is currently at $27.99.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
I
it's
mean,
down
what
after
was-
hours.
yeah,
So okay, here's an interesting thing that's just like straight up.
$27.50.
So if you throw in Topgolf revenues, which it's been 30% growth year over year for the past 3 years, so it's consistent. Then you're looking at Topgolf revenues for this next year would be 1.5 billion. Callaway is looking at 2.1 billion, so that's 3.6 billion revenue. If you look at their PS ratio, it's 1.26. If you compare that to someone else in the industry, which is the ticker Golf, their PS ratio is more like 1.9, I believe. And so just based on that alone, if you compare their market caps, Callaway should be valued more at like $43 a share. And that is not even considering the fact that they will be growing at a more rapid rate than the other ticker. So, I mean, it's just undervalued right now, straight up, and then the growth prospects are really exciting. And so, just to clarify, this is nothing like the GameStop or Bed Bath & Beyond or BlackBerry situation, right? The fundamentals are actually here, but that's why I wanted to let everybody kind of know about it, because, I mean, this is just a sleeping giant. It's going to go up above 40 at some point this year, and I'm willing to wait that out.
So for the cheap seats like myself, what is a PS ratio, and how does that? Because I was looking at a stock page for it, and I see something called a PE ratio.
Oh, it's just like price to share.
Okay.
So, yeah, actually,
I think people like Nathaniel is finally like loving life now that economics has taken a forefront to the news cycle. This is like the first time ever. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say PS ratio is the stock price divided by sales. So that's why I was talking about revenues per number. But the PE ratio indicates how a stock is valued and be compared to similar stocks.
Okay.
So, I mean, all that mumbo jumbo is in the same ballpark. But, okay, so one is just sales per share and the other one's earnings per share.
All right.
But no, I am enjoying this because, and I was talking to someone about this. I gotta be honest. Okay, I think I just like numbers, but in sports, have stats and numbers and all that stuff. So I like sports, but I also just love looking at stocks and trading and having fun with it, in like a little side account with money that doesn't really matter. Because I mean, this shit is just fun. It's just awesome to like look at all this stuff and have fun messing with numbers and trying to figure out what's going to happen next, and you get to put your money where your mouth is. So in that sense, I kind of treat it like gambling, but I'd like to imagine that I'm winning.
I'm pretty sure day trading is just gambling in disguise, isn't it?
A little bit. I think you can get to that point with some stuff, but I mean, again, okay. At the end of the day, and even though it paid off big time, the GameStop thing was kind of gambling because you're relying on this weird market mechanism to carry the stock price, right? What I'm talking about here, and also, actually I should clarify though. So the GameStop being valued like in the, hundreds and hundreds of dollars was because of the short squeeze. But the reason why it was on people's radar in the first place is because back when it was like $4, it was undervalued. It should have been worth more. And that's also why it was a short target. But anyway, with Callaway, the thing that I'm excited about is there are pretty much no shorts on the stock. There's a lot of smart money in it. The fundamentals are there. Their next earnings report will be the first earnings report with Topgolf included in the model. I mean, it just looks like something that's actually really solid. So that's why I'm not afraid to talk about it, because it's not like, guys, like I have this weird conspiracy theory that like BlackBerry or Nokia is going to get this 5G contract and, pop off. It's just like, no, like all the numbers are already right there. Let's just wait for the stock price to catch up to it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The ticker is ELY.
Yeah, I looked it up. And you could say like, especially like once we get a handle on COVID and like once the vaccinations are there's more vaccinations, who knows? People might start going back to Topgolf and
dude, oh no,
I see the growth potential.
That's the beauty of it though, right? So golf has actually grown the largest amount it has since like Tiger came on the scene because of COVID. It is relatively easy anyway, to socially distance while you golf on a course, while you're at the driving range, while you're at Topgolf. Like, think about what Topgolf really has to do. If you just say, like, every other pod or booth or whatever you call it is, like, off limits for spacing distance, all of a sudden all your parties are, like, 10 feet away from each other. And, okay, a little bit of, like, the, buying alcohol and drinking aspect gets taken away. It's going to require the, like, server or whatever to, like, be more in tune with what's going on. You can't walk up to the bar and buy a drink yourself because of that. But the point is, like, Topgolf and all this stuff it's still going to be an effective industry even while we are in this kind of like, recovery phase. Let's just say that things don't get completely back to normal until a year from now, compared to, playing basketball or something like that. If you want to go do an activity, you can go golfing. You can do it, and it's relatively safe. So, and that might bring in more people. Like, the number of golfers from ages 6 to 17 increased by 20% over the past year. 70% of people who go to Topgolf are under 34 years old. So, yeah, there's just a lot of. Oh man, I'll stop. But I could talk way more about like the Callaway and Topgolf synergies and how it's just like a really cool business model of like vertical integration. But I've already talked enough about it.
Sports, money, it's a great business. I mean, if we had an entire episode on like sports and money, we could talk about like stuff like that. We could talk about Cap Hell. We could talk about, there's a lot of stuff you could talk about when you start merging sports and money together.
I wish I had the, how do I put it? I don't even know the word. Almost like capacity to do this stuff for a living. I really like numbers. I wish I could work 80 hours a week and like be an investment banker or, something like that. But I just can't do it like for my own mental health and, how my life is. But I envy people who can do it because it just honestly seems like a lot of fun to just mess with numbers all day and I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, we may just have to record a separate episode of just stock talk, but
If you
Just
give
money
me
talk in general.
if you give me some prep for that, I will pop off.
oh boy.
Oh,
Okay.
this I gotta hear.
Thanks guys for coming on.
All right.
Our
I'll see you
pleasure.
after the Super Bowl.
Go Chiefs!
Yeah, I'm rooting for the Chiefs too. Barely, but